Are we starting at 8?
Yeah, 8 sounds good.
All right. I will. That's going to be great for audio.
Welcome to the show with no name. I am B. B is short for Brendan. He is Daniel. Daniel is short for Daniel. So Daniel, before we let's just skip all the little silly chit chat. And I have a question for you right off the bat. Have you ever?
Okay, this is a great way to start, I guess.
Well, I mean,
no introduction, just Daniel. I've got a question for you.
Well,
Let's do this.
People would just want to hear us talk. They don't want.
That's true. You're assuming people want to hear us talk. We don't actually know. We don't know because this is only the second time we've recorded. You have no idea if anybody is actually interested in what we have to say.
This is an excellent point. So I just figured we would just treat it like any other show where you just say hello, welcome, and then the people start with their topics and whatnot. You know, whether it's a news show or a radio, those morning radio
like
talk
top
shows
of
that are so stupid.
Top story of the week, or something like that.
So
okay,
right, so originally I wasn't
going
to start the show this way or the conversation, but as you and I were talking before the show, I thought, okay, I'm gonna sort of twist it around and end up in the spot where with the initial question. So here's this is not my initial question. This is how I came up with it later, and I thought, have you ever seen a preview of a movie and you saw the preview and you thought, oh man, I mean, it like pretty much makes your not like, wow, that's cool, I'd really like to see that, but it like makes the hair stand up on your arms, or like maybe brings a tear to your eye or a massive smile, and you're like, I have got to go see this movie.
Oh, that's an interesting question. Okay, so I guess I should probably preference with, I feel like it'd be really difficult for a movie to do that for anyone if you didn't know anything about the movie already. In other words, like if it was part of a series or something like that and it was something that you had seen before. I'm getting to a point here of why I'm going down this trail. Because I was trying to think in the recent past if there was any movies that had done this to me. In the recent past, there's only been one that I can think of. But aside from that, I try to think back to all the times I've seen trailers. There was a few times that I'm like, oh, I really want to see that movie. But then I didn't end up going and seeing the movie. So I don't feel like those can classify. Like I just don't feel like so the one I'm thinking about, or the two that I'm thinking about, one of them I am going to go see the movie. The other one, I never saw the movie. It went to theaters. I didn't end up watching it. The first one is the one that I saw.
Okay, so go. So one of them is one you've seen, and one of them is one you haven't seen.
No. One of them is one that isn't in theaters.
Okay,
yet,
so let's
that I'm going to.
So because I think I know what the movie is. So do the one that you didn't go see. Do that one first. Tell us about that one first.
So I saw a trailer for a movie called Black Mass with Johnny Depp in it.
About Whitey.
It's about the
Whitey Bulger, the Irish.
Yeah, that's terrible that I didn't know who it was about. I knew the name at one point, but I couldn't remember. Anyway, I saw this trailer.
If it's an Irishman, I only know they're only like famous for something like negative that they did. Like,
negativity?
Yeah, well,
Irish people are only famous for negativity.
Like, for murdering or revolting or being drunk or although you
the
too.
Irish are it's I was about to say something, but it's not. It's negative too. I guess I was going to say they're also known for the potato famine, but I guess that's not a great thing to be known for.
That was a British plot to think that just.
That was a British plot. Is that what Irish people say?
No, they don't say that. No, that's what I say.
Okay.
So the British came up. They had a chem lab that nobody knows about. And
oh my gosh.
Actually,
this is the most bogus thing I've ever heard.
Okay, so just all. I know. Okay, so I don't really like conspiracy theories, right? I'm really not in like the JFK is, and I really hate them. I think they're really stupid.
Brendan, we landed on the moon, just so you know.
I just the whole Irish potato famine. It was aliens.
Okay, aliens. Okay, all right. I'll have to remember that the next time I consult Wikipedia. I'll dive in there.
If it's not on there, put it on there.
I'll update it for you. For the sake of all Irishmen out there, I'll update it for you.
Thank you. I was drinking water right as you made me laugh, and I'm like, do I shoot water out of my nose or do I vomit it back into the cup?
No, I have no response for that. Sorry. Anyway, let me get back to the trailer thing. So I watched this trailer, and it's a very well done trailer, and Having a background in doing video editing, I really enjoy when people find a way to, just bring everything together. But more than anything, it wasn't the editing so much as it was also Johnny Depp's performance, which we've talked about this before, just in personal conversations, that I know you're not a huge Johnny Depp fan, but you have admitted that he's an amazing actor.
Yes, I think he's an amazing actor.
And this one particular scene that they take this shot from is from like a dinner scene or something like that. And if you haven't seen any of the trailers for Black Mass, you should go watch this one in particular. I think it was the first one that came out. It hit like the popular page on YouTube, so a lot of people saw it. But the words that he says and how he says it and the way the music is played and the way that they use other shots from the movie without actually using the audio, like it's just all silence, and you're just hearing him talk over it, was chilling. I mean, just like my hairs did stand up on my arms, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to see this movie so much. And I knew, before seeing it, I knew this is going to be a rated R movie. It's going to be, super vulgar, super violent and everything like that. But just the way that Johnny Depp's performance in that one brief moment, I'm like, man, I don't think that's Johnny Depp. Like, I feel like that's the actual guy. Like, whoever this story is, I can't, what was his name again? Something Whitey or something
Bulger.
like that? Whitey Bulger. I'm sorry.
Whitey.
See, this is exactly why it's a good thing I didn't go see this movie, because I would be your typical, person who goes and watch a movie that knows nothing about the true story. So when they say based on true events, I take the movie as if it's canon, or fact to what actually happened at that time. So
who's this directed by? Do you know who's the director?
Oh, good question.
Because
I don't know.
I know that kind of adds to the whole feel. But so you brought up an excellent point, which is like, so I have to admit, I don't know Johnny Depp. He may be a nice guy or whatever, but just every time that I see him outside of character, like being Johnny Depp, I think the guy is a clown and a fool. But you hit something, which is like when I see a Johnny Depp movie, I don't see Johnny Depp. I see the character that he's playing, and I have to give him total props and go, man, that guy can act. I mean, he's incredible.
That's honestly how you know. That's how you know they're a good actor, is when you see past the person, but you just see their character.
Right.
And I've said this before. I know I've said it to you, at least in conversation, about Brad Pitt, even though he is somebody who's talked about a lot just because of his looks. Women love him. Even though he's older now, I'm sure he's still, would rank in the top 10, like most gorgeous men in the world or something like that. Anytime they do anything like that, he's always, sure, up high in that poll. But I've seen him play roles, like his role in 12 Monkeys, which I would have never seen that movie if you hadn't, told me about it.
Yeah, that's a great one.
His role in 12 Monkeys, where he plays a psychotic man, and he totally sold me on his character. I'm just like, oh man, I feel, I don't know how to describe it. It's definitely one of those moments where you just feel like, okay, yeah, you're definitely well deserved in your accolades for being an actor. So
yeah, one of the sad things about that though is most people who credit Brad Pitt or say George Clooney with great acting, they point to like Ocean's 11, 12, 13, 13.14, 14, 15, right? So
movies where they don't have to act a lot.
No, exactly. That's exactly right. So they go, oh, George Clooney's such a great actor. It's like, really, what movie do you love him in? Oh, the Ocean series. I'm like, he's not acting. He's just, he's playing a cool guy. They just like the character of the cool guy. Whereas when you ask them, have you seen 12 Monkeys? They just stare at you like you're from another planet. Or if you ask them, so I think one of George Clooney's greatest acting jobs, and look, he was horrible in the Batman film, but one of his greatest jobs acting was one nobody has seen, and it's called Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And
that's a great movie.
Yeah,
what do you mean no one's seen that? I know a lot of people who talk about
really
that movie.
Because they're always.
I thought it won awards.
Did it?
Didn't that go on to win I thought it won like a global. I almost said global. It won the global award for something, or it was nominated or something.
Consult book of Google.
I know. Now I want to go see.
Golden Globe Award for Best Actor.
See, how can you
just totally destroyed everything I just said?
How can you say that? Like, nobody knows about this
No,
movie.
No, it emphasizes everything that I just said because he did such a great job on it. But a lot of people, a film aficionados would know, which is funny that you and I are film aficionados. We go to the movies like once a year. I don't know how to understand how we're film aficionados, but I don't think most people know about Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? They couldn't.
No, you might be true. You may be correct on that. I think it may have something to do with the timing. It may have had something to do with the marketing of the movie,
right? That I believe,
and things like that. Plus, it's also a bit of a quirky movie, if you will. And you think about where movies have gone now, and the types of movies that people are watching now, and what interests people, and what's making the most money. I mean, first off, superhero movies are probably the biggest thing right now. Literally, I saw a picture the other day that had like a listing of all the superhero movies that are going to come out in like the next 5 years or something, and the tagline on it was "God, please don't kill me in the next 5 years," because there's literally, it's like Avengers 2 and Ant-Man 2 is planned out, and like, I don't know, like another Hulk movie. Deadpool is coming out next February, I believe, which is a big hit. A lot of people are really excited about that. There's a lot of superhero movies that are coming out, and it's just because of the success of some of the other superhero movies, it's kind of funny actually to see where movies have gone with the whole superhero thing taking over, because, you know, that used to be, superheroes were a nerdy, geeky thing. Mm-hmm. You know, people shunned them. The majority of society pushed it away, and most people just thought that people who enjoyed superheroes were people who lived in their mom's attics and basements, you know, and had, you know, tons of collections of comic books, which I know you had some comic books too. I never collected any.
I had boxes of them, yeah.
But it's interesting that you take that from the nerd culture, if you will. You take that and you bring it to the modern day scene, some big movie companies. I don't remember the first superhero movie that came out that I remember that was like a huge success. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was the Spider-Man series. Because I remember The Incredible Hulk came out starring Edward Norton, who's one of my favorite actors. I never actually saw the movie. It's terrible that I say that, but and then following that, the Spider-Man series starring Tobey Maguire came out. And I remember that from when I was younger. I remember that being a pretty big success in the theaters. You know, that a lot of people went. In fact, you and I actually went. We saw Spider-Man 2. It was like one of the only midnight showings of a movie. Why did we go watch that? I don't even remember. I thought it was...
So I think it was Jonathan's idea to watch
I thought it was just as a joke, almost like, oh yeah, we're gonna go see the
and so, well,
the midnight release of Spider-Man 2.
It may very well have been a release, and I had no desire to see it, but Bruce went and he goes, "B, do you want to come along?" And I was like, "Oh, what the? Why not, man? I'll go."
Yeah. Which, by the way, for the listeners, Jonathan is my brother, and Bruce is a friend of ours. Which, by the way, I haven't talked to him in a while. I really should hit him up at some point.
I actually spoke with him last week. But okay, so that's the preview that I
didn't go see.
Right. So the preview, I think I know which one it is, but the preview of the movie that hasn't come out yet, which makes your hair stand up, is.
If anybody is listening to this around the same time that we're recording it, they would know immediately what movie I'm talking about, and that's the new Star Wars trailer. It didn't just
insert fanfare of Star Wars music in the background.
It didn't just make the hair stand up on my arm. There was this moment. It's right after the words, and I've seen the trailer now probably like 16.
You're speaking about the most recent trailer?
Yeah, the most recent one. No, yeah, the most recent one that came out about 2 weeks ago or something like that. It was this one shot. Yeah, it's right after the words. This Christmas shows up on the screen. It starts playing a song from the original trilogy, but it's a little bit different. Like it's a remade version of the song. And it's Han Solo's voice talking in the background. You know, the older Han Solo now. Harrison Ford is obviously a lot older than he was when they originally shot the original trilogy. So he's a lot older, but he's still playing the same character. And he's talking about the old movies. And I just thought whoever came up with that idea to use those lines for the trailer was absolutely genius. Whoever's idea that was, because you are literally taking the part of everyone's heart and everyone's joy that they remember from the original films. And you're just confirming it again and saying that this film is going to be everything that you want it to be. And to me, watching that trailer, like I said, I've seen it now at least 5 or 6 times, if not more. I've probably seen it more. I just don't want to admit how many times I've hit replay on it. But every time I watch it, like I watched it the first 2 or 3 times and I'm like, okay, cool. Lots of new footage. I'm excited about the movie now. I can't wait. Still don't have tickets yet, but I can't wait. It's probably like the 4th or 5th time that I watched it, and it got to that part again, and it just like hit a note. Like I just like flashbacks of like my childhood when I was really young, and every Saturday morning my dad would either put on Looney Tunes or a Star Wars movie. So that just like memories of Han Solo and Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia and all these things just flashing back through my memory, and I almost started tearing up. I couldn't believe how emotional I was about a stupid trailer for some stupid movie. I don't mean to call it stupid. It's not stupid. I'm excited. I'm really excited.
You
mean
stupid in like the grand scheme of things? Like there's people
in
starving
the grand
and whatnot.
scheme of everything else that's going on in my life with bills to pay and just everything else that's going on, car troubles, apartment troubles, things like that. It's a trailer for a movie that isn't even out yet. But I got so pumped up and so excited like I've never been. And I was surprised how excited I was because I was pretty excited already for the movie. And I didn't think there was any trailer that they were going to show me that was going to change my level of excitement. I didn't think there would be anything that would do that. And that trailer just, it's not the first part. It's just right when the lines "This Christmas" shows up, and then it kind of goes on a little bit past that. There was just something about it. It just hit a chord in me. And I was just like, I'm so, just so many great memories. So I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it. That's
so let me piggyback off of that, because that would be if I'm going to pick 2, right? I'm going to pick 2 previews, one of a movie like I've seen or haven't, or skipped seeing, and one of a movie that isn't viable to see yet. That's exactly the one that so originally I was just going to start with, welcome to the show with no name. I'm B. B's short for Brendan. He's Daniel. Daniel's short for Daniel. Daniel, let's get straight to it. New Star Wars trailer. What did you think? Right. So I was just going to ask you that, but then I thought, no, let's turn this in a different direction.
That sounds really manipulative, B.
Well,
that sounds like
I have to fill up half an hour of audio, so I have to.
I just automatically assume that we won't be able to fill up half an hour of audio. We had no problem the last time we recorded. In fact, we got so close that I was trying to close it up, and you're like, "Well, that brings up another story. Let me tell you about the time." So I finished
reading my 2014 journal on Friday. I think it was either Thursday or Friday. I finished reading it. And the amount of times where in there it says, Daniel called tonight, we started the phone call at, and 2.5 hours later, if we get off the phone. So I have all these times
and you're concerned about us not being able to
I know. At
fill up
12:15, I finally hung up. All right. So the new movie that's coming out, so episode 7. So not referring to the most recent preview, which I think I've only seen twice.
Okay.
To be honest with you.
Okay.
Once when it was originally aired during it was a halftime Monday Night Football, which I had no idea. I would have been watching Monday Night Football. Yeah, no, I had no idea until
I didn't know they did it in the middle of a Monday Night.
Yeah,
Football
it was
game,
a big. They kept advertising it, and I think ABC and Disney is that Monday Night Football? ABC
Disney is owned, or ABC isn't Disney owned, or ABC owned by Disney?
Exactly, it's one of the two. Exactly, so
yeah,
it makes sense. And at like the end of the first quarter, they said, "Hey, coming up halftime, we'll have the
new
exactly."
Star Wars
and I was
trailer.
like, that's when my head like was on a swivel and turned. I'm like, what? Oh, I need to start paying attention to the game now. And so not that preview, but the first preview that they had for episode 7 when that came out. In fact, it's funny because I didn't even know that preview was out yet. You had to call me or text me and tell me, B, are you excited about the new? And I was like, when is it coming out? Or what? And you were like, it's this. And I was like, man, I'm like way behind the 8 ball. So, and this is the guy who like, I used to have all the Star Wars action figures and read the Star Wars short stories and whatnot. So that preview, the first preview of episode 7, I sat down at my computer one day and I find it like on YouTube or wherever, and I said, okay, I'm gonna stream this and watch this. I watched it and I'm like, hey, this is kind of cool. And there's like a smile on my face. And when the preview really, really hit me is when at the end there, I forget what's going on, but I think it's the Millennium Falcon like cruises up somewhere. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the music, the theme kicks in. Dun, dun, dun. I'm about to like, for some reason I had the James Bond theme in my head, but that music kicks in. I felt it. I literally felt it like deep down in my bones, and this smile came up and I was like, oh man, this is going to be so cool. So that I was like, I'm hooked now. Now I really want to see this. And I remember thinking, did I feel this way about the prequels when I saw the previews for
That's
the prequels?
true, because the trailers, I guess episode 1 came out in 1999. I think episode 2, came out 2001, I think.
Yeah, they
were
so they were about a little over 10 years ago. Yeah, because they just had like a kind of a 10th year anniversary thing. And so I wondered, I go, because I thought those were horrible. And I'm like, did I get really excited over those? And then my dreams and hopes were dashed. And so I said, well, I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch those trailers. I'm going to go watch those previews. Yeah. And I watched them and I remember thinking, these just never did anything for me. So, but part of it, I have to be honest, is that because I already knew the movie and I'm like, yeah, this movie was garbage. And then I was like, no, I really honestly think it's because I remember watching it and thinking, I'm just not excited to see this.
Yeah. And I don't think, and I think a lot of people would probably agree with you. I mean, I'll be honest, I was younger at the time, so I was pretty excited about, the idea of new Star Wars movies. I didn't care whether they were prequels or, came after the series. I was just excited to have new Star Wars movies in general. But looking back, I guess at that time when those trailers originally came out and I saw the trailers for it, I've gone back even now, with the new movies coming out, I've gone back and I've actually watched the trailers. There's only one trailer that I actually really enjoyed. And it's funny because the whole trailer is based around Darth Vader's breathing. Like it does like an inhale and it'll show a scene. It's like, and when it, exhales, it switches to a different shot. So you get 2 shots every breath and then it's in black when he's not breathing. And I just thought that was so clever and so well done. But the thing about it that made me excited about it was the fact that it was Darth Vader's breathing and he's not, I get that it's his story. Spoiler alert. I get that that's his story, but that's not the point. I was excited because it was featuring somebody from the old series. And that's what this new movie is about. This new movie is connecting, I believe, at least to my understanding, connecting the old series to the new characters and the new cast and continuing the story. Going back in time, I felt like, and you and I have talked about this before. There's this video online. You'll have to excuse it if you go and look it up because it is very vulgar. There's a lot of language in it. But there's this guy who did these 2 videos, and I'm surprised he hasn't done a third one yet. But it's called "What If Episode 1 Was Good?" And then he does another one called "What If Episode 2 Was Good?" And he basically takes the story and rewrites it and talks about how the movie should have been. And the interesting thing about it is that I thought he did a fantastic job with it. Like I've watched those videos now a few times, and every time I watch it, I think, gosh, man, I wish he was a writer for for LucasArts or whatever, at the time that they made those movies. Because, man, I thought he did a fantastic job with reworking the story. The one change though that he made or the two things that are most notable, and I do suggest that you go and watch these if you haven't. Just be aware that there's a lot of language in them. The 2 changes that he made that I thought were just so crucial and so awesome were the number one was that he said that the prequels really focused on Anakin, and they said that this was Anakin's story when it really shouldn't be about him. It should have been about Obi-Wan. The prequels should have been about Obi-Wan, just as the new movies were about Luke Skywalker passing the torch down. And I get that they were trying to tell the story, but you can still tell the story about Darth Vader and how he became Darth Vader without, having to focus just on Anakin's character.
Exactly.
So the other change that he made, aside from, commenting on casting, because I thought Christian Haydenson is, I'm sorry, Christian Haydenson, but you're a terrible actor. And I thought that you completely ruined the character of Anakin. Mm-hmm. I didn't believe in your rage. I didn't believe in your anger. I didn't believe in anything that you portrayed on the screen. You didn't sell me on your character.
So I agree with you, but part of that is the director's fault. And
that is true.
I mean? They need to
that
go,
is true. I'm not blaming it. I'm not strictly blaming Christian Haydenson for it. I just mean as a general rule. Right. I didn't think he was a good cast. I didn't think that role was casted well. Exactly. I felt like there could have been other people who could have played that role better. But the other change that he made, which I thought would have been just absolutely crucial, is and he says it at the end of his video. He says on the What If Episode 1 was good. He said, if there was any change I could make, if I could just make one change and that was it would be that Darth Maul wouldn't die.
Huh.
Because Obi-Wan needs a motivator. And how much of a motivator would it have been if you had left Darth Maul alive? And the next time that they meet, after knowing that he had killed him, it would be so epic. Instead, we get General Grievous as the main villain of the next movie, someone we know, and Count Dooku, two people we've never met before, know nothing about, and they try to tell us about their characters in that movie. It was to me. It was
every
like
villain that was introduced and then immediately squashed.
Pretty much, yep.
So it was just,
you learned about them and then you didn't have any interest in them.
Right, there was no Boba Fett, no
character.
Darth Vader, like in the original series. You're like, oh, that guy's bad.
Every character
that guy's bad too.
Was introduced and then died. Right. Count Dooku lasted 2 movies, but he died in like the opening sequence of Episode 3. Yeah. So even that, it was boring. You didn't make me fear Count Dooku. Right. Yeah, I don't know. We sound like a bunch of nerds right now, though. We sound like I'm sounding. You may not sound like one. I'm sounding like a Star Wars nerd right now.
Yeah, that's fine. That's exactly fine. So, my one film that and it's funny because it's similar to you.
That's right. I forgot we got to go back to this, don't we? We never got to say what your one film was.
That's kind of like Star Wars is like that third rail. You touch it and people just go on it for like hours and hours.
We could talk about that for hours.
Exactly.
I mean, that could be. We could do a whole show. In fact, maybe we should do the next one we do just all Star Wars, just nothing else.
This is the Star Wars episode, and people do podcasts on Star Wars and websites on it and whatnot. So. The
one movie.
Yeah, the one. So there's actually quite a few previews that I can think of, but I'm going to go with this one. And there's a reason I'm picking this one. And I didn't see the movie, but the preview does make me want to see the movie. I just, as you know, I go to the theaters like once a year. And that's Eagle Eye. And that came out in 2009, I think. And it has Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf, I think.
Is that how you pronounce
actually
it?
is pronounced Buff. I think you pronounced the F on the end.
So now, are you familiar with the movie that I'm talking about?
Yes, I've seen the movie.
Oh, really?
I saw it in theater. Actually,
the preview that I'm talking about is it doesn't tell you much about the movie. It just tells you I think it's a 20, 29, 30, maybe 40-second trailer where you see him like he's on a bus and he's trying to withdraw money and he has no money. And then he goes to the ATM and it says like you have $751,000 in your bank account. And then the next thing you know, he's enters his apartment and there's all this like contraband there. He's got hordes of passports, explosives, and then the phone rings and they're like, the FBI is going to be in your place in 30 seconds, right? And so they're kind of following the story along this line, like, okay, he's caught by the FBI. He's like, hey, I don't know who this is. I don't know any of this stuff. You got the wrong guy. And then they usher him in a room to get his phone call, and as he's making his phone call, the lady's voice is back on the line again saying, you have 30 seconds to duck or something like that. And then the crane comes through the building, allowing him to kind of escape. Right. So that's it. So that's probably like the first 25, 30 minutes of the film. Right. And there's no scenes from like the end of the film or the middle of the film that would ruin it and go like, oh, that guy dies later. Or anything like that. So it really sets up the whole film without telling you, hey, this is who the bad guy is, that this is what's really going on, da-da-da-da-da. And so I really like that. Like, it makes me want to go, well, what is it? What's going on? So
Sure, so it's a baiting trailer.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what
it doesn't give you any context. It just gives you enough to be curious.
I think that's what it should be, and I think there's so many trailers out there that ruin their film. For example, I think it was Lord of the Rings. Gosh, which one was it? I think it was the second Lord of the Rings. Was it the Two Towers?
The Two Towers.
So at the end of the first one, Gandalf, quote unquote, dies, right? He falls off the bridge with the large.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I forget the name of that demon that he's fighting.
I forgot about it. A Balrog.
Yeah, Balrog.
Balrog, yeah.
Right? So you're like, right? So people are like, oh my gosh, Gandalf's dead. And then when you see the trailer for the second film,
he's in the trailer.
Yeah, and so you're like, oh, okay. Well.
So I guess, okay. Yeah, no, I totally see where you're going with that. Wow, I've never put those two things together. I never even thought about that. But, then again, at the same time, watching the original, and I never read the books. I know you did at one point. I never read the books, but even I knew that Gandalf wasn't going to die. I just didn't think he was going to die. I thought he fell, and I'm like, okay, well, he's going to come back.
He can fly. He has wings.
I didn't think he could fly. I just didn't feel like
the Eagles caught him.
His
right?
role. I feel like his character. That's a whole other conversation where people are always like, how come they just didn't, get on the Eagles and just fly to Mordor?
The whole thing.
Instead, in fact, it's funny you say that. I have a friend who's never seen the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and by her own admission says that she will not watch it because her brother told her about it. Her brother likes it, and her brother's friend, I guess, wow, this is a real long rabbit trail here. Her brother's friend basically summarizes it by saying, the movie, it's 9 hours of people walking. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so true. I don't want to admit it, but that's so true. It is 9 hours of people walking from one destination.
It's like golf.
That's well, hopefully an 18-round of golf lasts. It doesn't last you 9 unless
hours.
You're as terrible as I am. Then it probably would last about 9 hours.
Rounds of 8, so it's like Lord of the Rings. It's fantasy golf with swords
fantasy
instead of golf clubs.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so is there anything that you want to add? I know that was like the one topic that took up the entire show. So
I think that worked out. I thought that worked out well. I think note to self: anytime you see an amazing trailer, give it a shot and actually go watch it in the theaters, because you never saw Eagle Eye.
No, I didn't.
I never saw Black Mass, but I'm sure they're great films. I'm sure they're great films.
Yeah, so there's a part of me that would like to see Black Mass simply because I do find Johnny Depp to be that man. As much as I think he's a goofball, he's a great actor.
Yeah. And I'm sure he's going to deliver a great performance. I see. The other thing is that you get all these people who write on these blogs, and you see like these little highlight bits where people are talking about he was so great and he did this and blah 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 blah. I just want to see it. I don't want someone else to tell me that he did a great job. I'd rather see it for myself.
Exactly.
Kind of thing. Exactly. So.
All right, so this was the show with no name. I'm B. He's Daniel. We thank you again for listening, and we will be back again with another episode. Bye bye.